they also amp up the production value, because this isn't a 2011 experience, this is a brand new game, and so there are a lot of just mesmerizing Doctor Strange-like visuals. I've always had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog in 3D. Of course, I love the classic Sonic the Hedgehog games from the SEGA Genesis, and I've always loved the pixelized version of Sonic across different platforms. Sonic Mania is an unbelievably cool game if you don't have that one already. And then I've jumped into 3D experiences. I enjoyed the first adventure title, and there's been a few along the way where the storylines just got a little meandering and a little bit large, and it kind of lost me. Then I was taken right back into Sonic in 3D with Sonic Frontiers. That game blew me away, and it was a slow creep. At first I was a little taken aback, but then it really got its hooks into me, and I absolutely adored Sonic Frontiers. And of course I played Sonic Generations back in 2011, and I thought it was cool, but at the time I was definitely more into the pixel art version of Sonic. So here we are in 2024 with a remaster of the 2011 Sonic Generations game, which was a 20-year celebration of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is awesome. And it combined some 2D gameplay with some 3D gameplay, gave players the best of both worlds back in the day. And what's cool about Sonic Generations, that 2011 release, is that if you have it on Xbox 360, I believe, you can play it in backwards compatibility on your Xbox Series X, and I've taken a look at that and it's quite lovely. But it is absolutely stunning, again, in this remastered form on the PlayStation 5, which is where I reviewed this game. But in addition to Sonic Generations being remastered, there's this whole other campaign starring Shadow the Hedgehog, and it brings in a whole bunch of new capabilities and cool storyline elements and just sizzle like you would not believe. And together, Sonic Generations plus the Shadow campaign is almost like Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Remember when Nintendo remade that classic and then brought in this whole other side campaign, which was a ton of fun. There is kind of an analogy there, including the fact that as you're playing the Shadow campaign, even though the level structure is very similar to the way that the levels are doled out in Sonic Generations, there is also this 3D overworld which you get to explore, and it's a lot of fun, and there are lots of cool new chaos abilities that you pick up, like this manta ray that allows you to slide over the water. You've also got these sort of venom-like wings that erupt out of Shadow and let him fly for a little bit. So it's really cool that there is this new campaign with new abilities, with a new character that is really freaking different than Sonic the Hedgehog, darker, a little bit moodier, and the storyline around Shadow the Hedgehog's a little bit more tragic. It's a little incongruous when we see things like Shadow walking up to Big the Cat, who's fishing in this sort of dystopian white nightmare land that Shadow has ended up in, and Big the Cat is just sitting there, I can't find my friend, and he's fishing, and it just feels a little bit, all of it feels a bit weird. Shadow's got this human friend. I've always felt it a little bit strange that these 3D animal creations have these human friends and allies and enemies in the case of Dr. Robotnik. But all of that being said, this is a game about gameplay, and Sonic Generations did a really cool thing where they would have all of these different levels that were broken up by acts across these different zones, and each of the levels had a couple of different ways to play them. So you had a 3D way, which is reminiscent of some of the stuff that Sonic Adventure first introduced back in the day, including zipping through these things super fast and you're bouncing all over the place and you feel like you're in Moonraker, you know, when Roger Moore's got his face all rippling and you're missing stuff. That precision is kind of gone because you're kind of slipping and sliding as you're going so fast. That law of inertia, you're still moving and you're sliding all over the damn place. But it's slick and it looks amazing. The 3D stuff has always looked incredible, and Sonic Team has always done a great job at hurtling things at us. So you get those 3D levels, and then there are 2D levels which take into account some of the mechanics that you learn in 3D, but everything is from a side profile perspective with maybe some 2.5D stuff in there as well. It's all 3D generated, but it looks lovely, and the level designs are cool, and there are all kinds of crazy chaotic elements, massive danger that's coming towards Sonic as he's trying to run away as fast as he can, and he's got these hyper zip abilities, and you're also trying to spot the stuff as you go, whether you're in 2D or 3D. What are you collecting? Are you collecting that little ring pile over there? Are you collecting a chow over there? You're just trying to find everything, and then sometimes you'll be zipping through things, whether in 2D or 3D, it'll be way up there, and you're like, oh my god, I missed it. But the game is kind of like a speedrunner's dream, because it's meant to be replayed. It's meant for you to kind of try to find the way to that little red ring or that chow or whatever. So it's super fun to go back into these levels. And once you complete the 3 sort of main stages, you open up all of these little challenge stages, which are chunks of these different levels, but they're designed around specific objectives, like collecting enough rings to defeat the objective and get that S ranking if you can. And then once you unlock those challenge gates, you are getting these keys which unlock the boss battles. And the boss battles are a little bit more on rails, and they throw all the bells and whistles at you, and you have to take down these enormous, crazy, beautiful bosses. And it's just visual candy. It's just a lot of that. Now, what happens with the shadow levels, they don't really go back and forth between 3D and 2D. They kind of use a little bit of it all at the same time. And so midway through the levels, things will change perspective for you, which is super fun. But they also amp up the production value, because this isn't a 2011 experience. This is a brand new game. And so there are a lot of just mesmerizing Doctor Strange-like visuals on screen that you're just like watching with your mouth agape, like, oh my God, I'm running through this stuff, and you're seeing buildings cascading and these gorgeous space stations and stuff that you're whipping through, and there's all these killer robots and all kinds of stuff, and it's just so freaking badass. It's gorgeous, it's wonderfully defined, and even though it's insanely fast and you're trying to process all of this visual stimulation that's coming at you, it's hard not to have a huge smile on your face. And I did feel damn clumsy throughout this thing. I kept singing, "I'm clumsy the hedgehog," because I kept missing stuff, and it was driving me crazy. So I was, uttering a few swears as I was falling and flailing and not having the precision that I wanted. But you know what? I was absolutely absorbed. I was completely compelled to keep going. I was fully hooked, just like I was in Sonic Frontiers. It's a lot more chunky, it's a lot more level-based, and it's a lot more tied to the roots of the Sonic character. All of it, even the shadow gameplay. But God, it's compelling, and it's so well packaged. And the other beautiful thing is all of this incredible music. I love that in Sonic Generations, as you're moving from stage to stage, the music goes along with you in real time, and you're hearing echoes, but it's all remastered music. It's all beautifully stylized. The music kind of transforms as you walk through and pick the stage that you're going to jump into, or the challenge gate that you're going to go through. And in Shadow, it's all much more rockin' and much more high energy, and it's a lot more electrified. The whole experience of the Shadow gameplay is a lot more electrified. There's lots of little side objectives. You're going to meet all kinds of characters and find lots of artwork and collectibles and things along the way. This is a packed game. There is so much cool content in here, and it's such a celebration, just like Generations was the first time, of Sonic in general. I would find it hard to believe that anyone that has an affinity for Sonic the Hedgehog wouldn't adore this game. I really fell in love with Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. It's an excellent game, and it's another excellent game, and we are clearly on the road to the Rock and Ribbon Awards, because I love this thing. I'm going to give Sonic Cross Shadow Generations a 9 out of 10.